Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wine World TV, the best wine show anywhere. I'm in bourbon, by the way. I'm your host, Mark Lesko. Before we get started, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel. Every like and subscription really helps build the channel. Even better, spread the word to your friends about the best wine and bourbon show anywhere. So, why do I keep talking about bourbon? Well, I have some of Texas' premier bourbon makers here, and we're at a special event at the Pearl through Southerleigh, and we're sitting at the Boiler House right now in their upper area. They've got a VIP party going on right now. I have Dan and Nancy Garrison of Garrison Brothers, and so Dan and Nancy, who are you? What made you want to make bourbon here in Texas? How did you get here?
Mark, in 2000, I lost my job.
Wow.
Right in the middle of the Enron controversy.
Oh,
and
yes.
I was working for a software company that built trading networks, just like the Enron trading network.
Yeah.
Enron went belly up, and all of a sudden I was out of work, and I had no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And she got a little tired of me sitting around the house watching Oprah and said, get your ass to work. And so what we did is we were sitting there reading a newspaper one night about this guy that was going to make yet another vodka distillery. That means 4 vodka distilleries in Texas.
Right.
Tito's was first, of course.
Yes.
Tito's a friend of ours. And we thought he'd give us some good advice along the way. So I said to her, why would somebody drink vodka? It has no flavor.
No
it has
offense.
no taste. It has no aroma. And she drank a lot of vodka back in those days. And so I said, why would somebody do that? Why did somebody build a bourbon distillery?
And
I
Mark,
kind of agree, honestly.
Really said, as much as that stuff as you drink, maybe you ought to go to Kentucky and figure out how the hell to make it. We'd save some money along the way.
There you go, yeah.
That didn't happen.
Next thing we did is we wrote a letter to the Tax and Trade Bureau, or an email actually,
Yeah.
to a guy. David Bateman was his name. He was the analyst on the other end of the line. And I said, hey, I want to make bourbon in Texas. Can I call it bourbon if it's not made in Kentucky? And he said, of course you can. Why would you think otherwise? And I showed Nancy this letter, and I said, holy shit. We know
Truly,
something
an
that nobody else
aha
knows.
moment. A
Right.
true moment.
Okay, so explain, why can you call it bourbon outside of Kentucky?
In 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson signed into law the first North American Free Trade Agreement with Mexico and Canada. Tequila became a distinctive product of Mexico. Canadian whiskey became a distinctive product of Canada. And the bourbon producers in Kentucky lobbied really hard to make bourbon the distinctive spirit of the United States of America, and they won.
Yeah.
And Lyndon signed that into law. It was actually John F. Kennedy that wrote the legislation, but Lyndon signed it into law. And a Texan, of course, who lives literally a mile from my ranch.
A stone's throw
Right.
from High, Texas, where
Exactly,
our
yes.
is located.
So the next thing you know, we're picking up the phone and we're calling everybody we know that's mature enough to have our own checking account. And write me a check. You're about to become an investor in Garrison Brothers Distillery, the first bourbon distillery in America outside of Kentucky since before Prohibition.
And of course, everybody thought we were crazy. I mean, why in the world a sleepy spirit like bourbon? In the early 2000s, no one was drinking bourbon whiskey. There were literally 9 distilleries that made 35 bottles of bourbon that were on the shelf. Think about what you see in your liquor store today. There are a hell of a lot more than 35 bottles of bourbon on that shelf. And they thought we had lost our mind.
Everyone in Kentucky looked at me curiously like, why would you want to make a bourbon that it's failing? Nobody's drinking bourbon. All the old timers that fought World War II in Vietnam for us, they got bottles when they came back after their service, and they got bottles of Old Forester or Jack Daniels, and that's how those brands became huge. But it only lasted through the 60s and 70s, and then it started to fade out.
It was a generational drink from a time past.
And we decided we're going to bring it back.
Yeah.
I had a good feeling about it. I've been drinking bourbon since I was 13 years old, and I love good bourbon
Nothing
whiskey.
illegal about that.
It was Mom's.
Education.
Drink with your mom.
Yeah.
So we bought a little piece of land out in the Texas Hill Country in a town called Hye, H-Y-E, stands for Hiram, who's the town's founder. And I would go out there, basically spend all my time out there. Nancy would take care of the kids and take care of life at home. And I would spend all my time out there learning how to make bourbon with short trips to Kentucky in between, where I'd spend a week going to all the distilleries that were up there. And then, like Nancy said, there was only 9 at the time. So,
And they were open arms. I mean, Dan had
They
the
were great.
opportunity through a little bit of barbecue being sent their way from Texas, to coerce them into keep giving us ideas and recipes and truly showing us behind the curtain of what it was to make bourbon whiskey. But it was a magical time because truly the industry icons, those families that are still part of the Kentucky heritage and their story, were truly opening up their arms to Dan and saying, you know what, if someone is interested enough to make our spirit and to respect the craft of what bourbon was, we're going to tell you what we know. And we had a pathway into what Kentucky bourbon, because we always wanted to be a part of that.
Upon a woman named Teresa McInnes, and she was the marketing director at Buffalo Trace, and she was moving to Texas to marry a Texan. And she said, hey, next time you go to Kentucky, you need to take me with you because I know everybody in the industry and I can open some doors for you. And I said, you're on, Teresa. And she's also happened to be gorgeous. So went with her to Kentucky, and she introduced me to Elmer T. Lee, Bill Samuels Jr., Dave Pickerel at Maker's Mark. I got to meet the family behind Heaven Hill, the Shapiros, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
And got to meet them, and they all kind of welcomed me with open arms and said, here you go, go anywhere you want on the property, but talk to the people that are in these buildings before you walk in and just with your cowboy hat on and start asking stupid questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really took me that seriously, but I was real serious, and she was real serious too.
Yeah.
And the next thing you knew, we were producing bourbon. We bought a 100-gallon still that used to be Elmer T. Lee's still at Buffalo Trace, and then it had also worked for Jimmy and Eddie Russell at Wild Turkey for a couple of years, maybe a decade before that. And it was their experimental still. It's all I can afford.
She's our copper cowgirl. She was our first still at Garrison Brothers Distillery, and she is still working today.
Awesome. Yes.
And so
that was it's a column?
Column pot still from Vendome Brass and Copper Works, made back in the day, and of course today we now have lots of big stills.
It's got an 8-plate copper column attached to it.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful old still. It's just it's done everything in its lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I was real pleased to get it. And then Dave Pickerel resigned from Maker's Mark, and I said, well, Dave, what are you going to do with your life? And he said, I don't know. Come help you. How about that? And I said, I'll cook you a steak every night and a baked potato and iron skillet biscuits. And he came out there, and I'd give him a new bottle every single night. He and I would share that bottle and tell stories. Dave Pickerel was the ultimate historian about bourbon in the world. He rebuilt George Washington's distillery from the ground up.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And it was a beautiful man. I loved him very much.
And he truly helped us understand not only the ABCs of what it was to make bourbon whiskey, but where we could take this spirit going forward. How we could put a new footprint down on a historic path of what bourbon was in the great state of Kentucky, but how we in Texas could embrace that and move forward and truly push that envelope forward of what it could be to enjoy this spirit. And so with Garrison Brothers, we have lots of different expressions today, lots of different finishes, but we are true to the craft of making bourbon. Dan and I truly were not smart enough to do anything else but make one thing, and that is bourbon whiskey.
So let's talk about what bourbon is versus whiskey.
Sure.
What makes them different?
Sure.
Whiskey is this broad umbrella category that describes any distilled spirit that is made from grain, cereal grains, and aged in a wooden barrel, a white American oak barrel. Bourbon has to follow a totally different standard. Bourbon has to follow what's called the ABCs, and these came directly from Dave Pickerel. I'm totally plagiarizing right now.
Okay.
A stands for it has to be American made. Can't make it anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
B stands for a new barrel. Every single time that you put the White Dog into a barrel, it's got to be a brand new barrel. C stands for corn content. It's got to be at least 51% corn in your mash bill, which is basically your recipe for what you're making. D is distillation proof. When it comes off the copper cowgirl, it's got to come off the copper cowgirl at 160 or lower. If it's over 160, congratulations, you're fired. You can go work for Tito Beverage because you're not making bourbon anymore. You're making vodka.
Yeah.
So D is distillation proof. E is entry proof. When we enter it into a barrel, it's got to go in there at 125 proof or lower. F is fill proof. When we fill up the bottle, and sorry, we don't have a bottle for
I know. I can't
props.
believe we don't have a bottle with us. I mean, how does it know we'd have a
I'll have
bottle?
a picture.
It's got to be
Yeah.
at least 80 proof going into the bottle. But some
Okay.
of our bourbons here in Texas are kind of rocking the whole culture
Yeah.
because
Has been.
in this climate, it's really dry and it's really hot. And what that does is that forces the water to evaporate from the barrel while it's aging and during the angel share process, as they refer to it. And so that water disappears, but the alcohol's still in there. So the alcohol goes higher and higher and higher during the aging period. We've had some barrels come out at 159 or 158 proof right out of the barrel, and they're delicious.
I bet they
The
are.
crazy part, they don't burn. They're soft and gentle, and they've got this mellow finish to them.
Yeah.
G is the last letter in the alphabet, and that stands for genuine. You can't add sugars. You can't add caramel, butterscotch, vanilla. You can't add hazelnut flavors. It's got to be real. It's all got to come from that barrel.
It's come from the barrel, right? So how does it come from the barrel? What is that? How did you get that?
You've boiled water at home before, right?
Yeah.
What happens when that water starts getting hot? It flows up and it overflows the pot. So when the same thing is happening in our barns here in Texas, inside the barrel, the liquid gets really hot and it expands and it forces its way into the staves, which are the wood pieces that make up the barrel. And those staves are filled with sugars that come from the sap from the white American oak tree. So those sugars flavor it and they also color it. It gets darker and richer every single year. But the bad side is we lose about 13% of the contents every single year to evaporation and angel share. So somebody's got to pay for that. And that's our customers, and that's why we're so damned expensive.
Yeah.
Well, and the liquid in that barrel is truly working every day of the week, 365 days of the year in Texas. Because again, it is those incredible hot days like it is today. I mean,
Right.
we're going to push 100 plus today here in San Antonio, Texas, where we're together. But in the evening and afternoon, that temperature will drop 20 degrees minimum. And so as that temperature drops, that beautiful liquid is going back, coming out of those staves and have gathered all of that amazing goodness, that extraction from that barrel, all those flavor compounds that are coming from the wood of that barrel. And then it is doing it all over again as we start on our hot day tomorrow.
Yeah. So the difference between this and wine is wine's kept in a cool climate, and it does seep into the barrels, and then depending on how much char is in there, but you don't have as much of that change or that shift, diurnal shift. It pretty much stays cold or cool the whole time, and you do get similar things. But that's the secret with something like a whiskey or a bourbon is that heat. And there's some other places in the world that have wines that do something similar to that with heat.
And
But
wineries can use their barrels over and over again.
yeah, exactly.
But
That's the other thing.
After about 3 uses of the barrel, you've extracted all the sugar that you're going to get from it.
Yeah.
So they'll pass it along and give it back to us, and we'll mess around with it, fire it up again, maybe
And do a
toast
finish.
it a little bit, and do a finish. And that's what we think we're really good at.
But with bourbon, you have to use that new barrel every time.
So
Call it bourbon whiskey.
So you use that
The
first.
first
Now,
barrel.
can you do a finish with a different barrel?
You can.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
see, I don't know everything about bourbon or
Yeah.
whiskey. I told them that. I don't
Yeah.
know everything. They're going to teach me.
So this Saturday,
And that's our magic.
Yes.
Is our release of the Laguna Madre. The Laguna Madre is our most expensive bourbon, and it costs us the most to make.
Okay.
It's Garrison Brothers 4-year-old bourbon, my small batch that I first created back in the day. That recipe, but then it's aged for 3 more years in a limousine oak cask that we import from France. We're on the wait list if you want to get a limousine oak cask, because they only harvest so many of those trees a year, and you got to be on the wait list. We've been on the wait list for 15 years. Never told her about it, but
It's true.
we were waiting for some very expensive $8,000 barrels.
Yeah.
That we couldn't afford back in the day.
Right, yeah,
Pennies rubbing together to keep the
absolutely.
lights on and buy grain for Donna Stott, our master distiller. Truly a covert operation that was under my radar. But it is an incredible spirit, 101 proof. Again, a bourbon that is finished in a French oak barrel. And literally, there are only a couple thousand bottles of this bourbon. So when it comes out, it is coveted.
Nice. That's really cool. I'm off Saturday.
I know. Come to the distillery. Don't come late.
Don't come late.
Gates open at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
There will be
I might be still asleep.
hundreds of trucks.
Oh,
We
wow.
sell 1,000 bottles at every release at the distillery on a release day.
Oh, my goodness.
Period. The end. You get there, you get one,
There you go.
you sleep in, maybe not so much.
Wow, yeah.
Look at it for liquor land across the country.
Well, anyway, so yes, that if I wake up early, I might stop by.
Yeah.
So we talked about the heat, talked about aging, so and how the differences between Kentucky and here, well, really anywhere else in here.
Mm-hmm.
How many different bourbons do you produce?
8 different expressions.
9 expressions as of October, but I can't tell you what the new one is going to be.
Oh, okay, all right.
A little bit top
Notice
secret.
I was careful. Dan, of course, not so much.
So each of those expressions is a little bit different from the others. A lot of them are named after Texas treasures, landmarks here in Texas.
Balmoral
State Park, is where Nancy and I first went skinny dipping together years ago. Oh,
never let the
no
truth.
pictures of that.
No, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
We've also got one called Laguna Madre, which refers to the Gulf Coast all the way
That'll be
from
released this
Galveston
Saturday.
down to South Padre Island. We have Guadalupe, which is named after the river that taught us a real lesson in the past month. And
The force and might of tragedy and beauty all
absolutely
encompassed into one.
So we have 9 different expressions. Every single one of them is aged in a different cask at the end of the process to make it even finer. Except for one that we do occasionally, which is called High Rye. Our distillery is located in a town called High. We had to do a High Rye.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Oh, it was good.
One release.
All right, so explain what a rye is versus a bourbon.
So our mash bill.
A High Rye whiskey has a very high percentage of rye in it instead of wheat. Wheat is the softening grain, the gentler grain, in my opinion. I've always loved wheated bourbons. I've never really liked rye bourbons. Some rye bourbons, Old Overholt is a rye, Jim Beam is a rye. It just gives a different flavor content to the bourbon. It's got a little spice to it. It's kind of interesting. And we'll be doing it again, but I just don't know when.
Yeah. I love rye. Yeah. I do. I really do.
Yeah. But we are a wheated bourbon. 74% corn, 15% soft red winter wheat, and 11% malted barley. Again, all from Texas farmers. We are corn to cork, gourmet grade. So one of the things early on that Dan and I truly had the mission and passion to do was to make the best tasting, highest quality bourbon in the world. We're from Texas, so we're going to have some swagger.
Right.
We're going to want to put it out there and say, we're going to do it, damn it. But we knew our Texas farmers, that we want to take care of them. They want to take care of us. And food grade, the highest quality grains we could use, were going to be very impactful to our flavor profile that we were going to get when we put that liquid into a barrel. So we didn't want to cut any corners. As Dan said, it's damn expensive, but worth every penny.
Right.
We hope that our people who enjoy our bourbon can understand why it is we're passionate about bourbon whiskey.
Awesome. We are running a little tight on time. I know we're not quite. You have plenty of time. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Did we not cover anything?
Yeah, Mark.
Something that's really, anything important?
Our business plan has evolved over time.
Yeah.
When I first wrote the damn thing, it was a piece of crap. And that was back in 2001, the first draft. And I pitched that to a lot of bankers and wealthy people to see if they'd invest, angel investors and that sort of thing. And we didn't get a single hit. I mean, our friends came to the party and they gave us some money. We raised about $1.9 million. If anybody's going to do this, they need to think bigger. I should have raised $19 million because that's how much it really takes to do what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so we've had to continually go back to the banks to try to find more funds. That and venture capital people and
but you know what?
Equity firms.
We've had an amazing journey. We're a family business. And we have almost 100 people that are a part of our team. And each day they make us look good as to because they are just as passionate as we are of making bourbon whiskey and why we're part of this industry.
To go with this is in 2017, we had this hurricane out in the Gulf, and it changed the way we did business completely because Hurricane Harvey hit the coast in 2017. We raised about $176,000 just by giving away bottles of hurricane tough bourbon But the folks that were making a $500 donation to get those bottles were not going to get it for 5 years because we wanted to age it for 5 years. And so we still raised $176,000 so we could buy boats to get people off of rooftops throughout the Gulf Coast area. And and we did it in 3 days. And we kind of went,
wait a minute.
Bourbon's got something going on.
Yeah.
Bourbon, truly, we believe this could change the world. If we're going to give bourbon away, if we're going to sell bourbon, we've got a new bourbon coming out. I mentioned in October. I can't talk about the details. But money from the sale of every single one of those bottles is going to go to help a very important organization of philanthropy somewhere here in Texas.
Good.
We believe in it so much, we put it on the back of our bottle. Good bourbon could change the world. And what we recognized in 2017 at that pivotal moment that was so impactful for the state of Texas was that good people want to come together. They want to drink good bourbon, but they want to do good things. And so through that and our nonprofit Good Bourbon for a Good Cause, we have recognized over $1 million worth of opportunity to help out our neighbors, help out our friends, help out our veterans, and be a better part of our community. It is much more than the liquid in the bottle. It is about something more than that. And Dan and I recognize today that is our true mission, not only to make good bourbon, better bourbon tomorrow than we made today, but to try to really make the world a little bit better place tomorrow than it was today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just 3 weeks ago, we gave away $80,000 to the Stonewall Volunteer Fire Department and to the Johnson City Volunteer Fire Department. They're the closest two to us. We wrote them both checks for almost $80,000. So
impactful money that we know our community can use, and we can be a part of that conversation and a better part of a solution.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming over, spending some time with me.
Thank you, Mark.
I need to go taste some things. That's kind of the whole reason to come here, is to kind of taste some stuff. So I let them know probably like 10 some odd years ago, if I find some pictures that I took, I visited them. And actually, I think back then I said, hey, can I come back and do an interview? You said yes. And unfortunately, I never came back, but now I got it 10 years later.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are at an event tonight that is sponsored by the Southerleigh, which is a great restaurant here in San Antonio, multiple locations around San Antonio. Chou, which is right across the street. We're at the Pearl. We're just next to the Hotel Emma.
And the Broiler House.
All of the restaurants in this area are coming together to put this event on. And the money goes to a good cause. It goes to the Texas Restaurant Association.
Yes, absolutely.
Of which I was a board member. I just became Emeritus, and Nancy's going to be joining the board again. The Texas Restaurant Association is a fantastic group that does things for the industry, and when Williams Knight says something, it's her all around the world. And she's phenomenal.
An advocacy for the service industry that is the backbone of our Texas economy, and mostly small businesses that are every day trying to give us all that opportunity to share community together.
That's awesome. Yes. Matter of fact, my good friend Fabian, running the Manchouche over there. If you ever come down to San Antonio, go see Fabian Manchouche. He's like a supreme badass sommelier. Like
the best.
He's
the best.
He's a few people that I'm like, I wish when I grow up I want to be them. He's one of like a couple people that I say that about. So, so yes, Boiler House here, Southerleigh. And those are the three restaurants.
Casanova BBQ.
So I'm going to be checking all those out and trying food and some bourbon, and I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Salud. I just have water, but you need something in your glass if you're going to toast.
Thank you.
Salud. All right, folks, I'm going to do it. It's going to do it. As always, click, like, and subscribe. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.